Hi everyone. It's just me today. I know that it's taken a little bit longer than expected, but it is finally my turn to tell my coming out story, which is definitely a little bit different than Chris's, as I'm sure all coming out stories are, but I'm a little excited, a little scared to open up and share. Um, I don't tend to be the most open with my emotions, or really the most open with, I think, a lot of personal subjects. So this is kind of the first time I'm talking to anyone about a lot of these things. Gosh, where to start? Whew. Well, first of all, this feels like I'm talking to myself since I don't have Chris here. I usually have him here as my security blanket. So I guess kind of the short story is I came out when I was 20 years old, and it was something that was very difficult for me at the time. I remember growing up as early as middle school and even elementary school being called gay or fag. I don't really know if that was because of my voice or the way that I spoke or the fact that a lot of my friends were girls. But I just remember kind of being treated a little differently even when I was younger. I think my coming out experience and the way I see it has really come to life as I've reflected on it and how I handled myself as I was coming out, which was really when I was in college. And I think I probably started feeling as though I was attracted to men. Must have been when I was 18 or so, but I wasn't really sure what to do or how to categorize those feelings. And so I guess I really kept them bottled up, and it almost became this secret and really started this almost secret or double life that I had in college. I had just moved there from San Jose. I met a lot more people that I thought I could get along with, joined a fraternity, really I think put myself out there to make the most of college, but there's a part of me that I really kept hidden and was so afraid of sharing with any of my friends, to the extent that I started distancing myself or alienating myself, and spending a lot of time away from campus and hanging out with people that didn't go to UCLA with me. And at the time, I guess I would come up with lies, or I would come up with reasons why I couldn't be on campus or wasn't staying at my apartment, and really just kind of creating a wedge in between so many of these friendships that I had created my first few years at college. And I think to me that's so difficult because I know now that none of those friends that I had truly cared if I was gay or straight. They just wanted to be friends, and I was so fortunate that the people that were in my life were so open and would not discriminate if I had come out. But I think I was having such difficulty with self-acceptance, and I was just so afraid of what people would think. I was so afraid what my family would think. I was so afraid what my friends would think. And so I just kept this piece of myself hidden. And I think really lost a lot of the close friendships that I had in doing so. Whew. This is so difficult for me to talk about, and I don't know, in hindsight, it seems it's so unfortunate that it was so difficult to accept myself that I couldn't be open to others or share with my friends what I was going through. I mean, this is going to be, I think, really kind of a surprise to a lot of people who know me or knew me in college, but while I was in college, my junior year, I was dating a guy, and I, no one knew. No one knew what I was going through, and I think for me, I couldn't talk to it about people, and I wasn't open to sharing it with people, and I think that made me just such an unhappy person, and I wouldn't go out, and I would really isolate myself, and the times that I was on campus, I was by myself or by myself, but it was really difficult. I think for me, it was specifically difficult being in this relationship and not having a support network and closing myself off from my family and friends, and also not knowing kind of how to have a healthy relationship and how to navigate this relationship, because it was so secret, and just hiding that fact, I think, made it really harmful and really sad to not be able to share my happiness or this piece of me with some of my best friends. And I don't know, this went on for months, and I don't think I really truly honestly learned to accept myself fully and opened up until I met Chris. And the timing couldn't be more perfect for what I was going through. I actually came out to my mom earlier in the day before I met Chris for the first time in person, and from there just felt such a burden lifted off my back, and I felt like I could tell my friends and tell my family, and I was met with such positivity and such openness that it just really, again, made me sad that I had felt that all of these people who had been with me for years upon years would see me any differently. And I do know that in that way I am fortunate, and there are many scenarios where those closest to you can turn a blind eye or cut ties with you because of who you are. And I was so fortunate that that wasn't my case, but I closed myself off. I think I was just afraid of myself and afraid of being seen differently. And today, my differences are some of my favorite things about myself, and embracing who I am and living my life and being visible, I think, are just so important. And I thank you, Chris, and I thank you to all my family and friends, and to everyone in my life now, whether direct or indirect, for being so positive and loving me for who I am, even when it was difficult for me to love myself. Gosh, I don't even know if that was a coming out story or me just talking about feelings, but thank you for everyone who watched today, and thank you. I think that just felt better more than anything to just say out loud, even if I was rambling. Well, on a lighter note, next week, Chris and I will be back here together discussing the first time that we met in person and what that interaction was like. And I can't go into it now, but I think it'll be a really special one. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe. And we're also linking to some resources below in case anyone needs them or needs a voice of reason in a difficult time, no matter what that is.